Good morning, and welcome to the first episode in the new webcast series for green industry professionals, presented by the Landscape Contractors Association of Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. My name is Aaron Raines, and I'm the 2019-2020 President of Landscape Contractors Association. I'm thrilled to have you join us for this new webcast series this morning. We have a fantastic first episode in store, and we're looking forward to getting started. I would like to introduce Tim Smith, owner and president of Ignite Business Advisors. Tim is a green industry veteran with over 30 years of experience leading and building winning companies and teams. Tim, welcome, and thank you for joining us today on this webcast. Would you mind taking a minute and telling us a little bit about your background and how you came to form Ignite Business Advisors?
Well, yes. Hello, Aaron, and thanks again for this opportunity to get together and discuss the success here in our industry, the green industry. Ignite Business Advisors is really a combination of my passion for servant leadership and aligning the importance of financial literacy, as well as my passion for education as well. I've been able to combine all these items with the knowledge of the green industry specifically, and in order to transfer that knowledge and allow the businesses that work with us to accelerate their journey and in essence rise onto the shoulders of our expertise and experiences in working with them. Definitely improving the quality of life for the business owners is one of our key focuses as we move forward in working with organizations across the country as well too. As for myself personally, I've been given the opportunity for a great journey in life. As you mentioned, investing the last 30 years in roles ranging from field technician. If I roll the clock back a number of years, I was involved with installing irrigation systems, designing irrigation systems. I've also had the opportunity to provide education at the college level for students and those that are seeking to enter into our industry. Also looking at some of the other past experiences, there's been a number of opportunities in developing software systems, whether it be through design or estimating or business systems. Even had the opportunity to function as a CEO in a organization, as well as being a mentor, a husband, and a father for my family here at home. So it's been great to build this organization, Ignite Business Advisors, and really get out there and serve those that are ready to improve and raise their business performance in our industry.
So Tim, it sounds like you, one might say that you have performed almost all the roles in our industry. So you've been there, you've done it, you have the firsthand experience. And we are thankful today that you're willing to share a little bit of what you've learned over the years and show our listeners, how they can benefit from working with you at Ignite Business Advisors, and just give a little bit of information about, something that you can take home with you today after listening and take it back to your business and maybe see a change and an improvement. So our focus today is a topic I think a lot of green industry professionals, both business owners, managers, HR professionals would say that they struggle with, and especially in this current job market. Our country is seeing record levels of employment, minimum unemployment situations. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about thinking outside the box when it comes to recruiting and hiring employees. And oftentimes, it's said that the green industry tends to lag behind some other industries as far as our processes, our technology, things like that. And so, Tim, I think you bring some really cool and innovative ideas to the table. So my first question, Tim, is what are some of the common mistakes you see landscape companies make when coming to try to find the perfect candidate for a hiring position, whether it's sales, estimating, or something else within a landscape company?
Well, that's a great question, Aaron. Again, when I look at these things, I don't necessarily look at them as mistakes, but rather opportunities. And one of the biggest opportunities we see for improvement as it relates to recruiting and building our teams is really understanding what we refer to as role clarity. What are the roles that are defined in our organizations? Oftentimes, we start out, if we roll the clock backwards and look at the early days of our businesses, we're very passionate about what it is that we do. With the landscaping, we build some great environments, some great experiences. We're able to maintain those things. But, being the power of one, we often have all of those roles, all of those responsibilities under our own hat. And it's very clear to us because we're able to do all the things that we need to do to start that business early on. But what often happens and what we see in businesses is the inevitable change that takes place. We move from one team member to two team members to three team members. and beyond. But unfortunately, what we tend to lose focus on is the importance of the business structure. And that's that role clarity that I mentioned there. We do recognize that each organization has very specific roles that they need to fulfill, whether that be, as you mentioned, the sales, the estimating. And, unfortunately, with those early on days, we find that since we're the only one doing them, they all work perfectly. However, when we start to grow that business and we really start looking at the need for recruiting and bringing others into the organization, we lose that role clarity. And that role clarity really breaks down to what are the responsibilities, what are the tasks, what are the skill sets that's needed. And that's probably one of the biggest areas that we see first and foremost is understanding what that is and what it means to our business. We can look at that and kind of compare that to, maybe your favorite sports team as you think about it. If each of those team members did not understand their role on the field, you can imagine how confusing it could be as someone were to go out and try to win the game. And that same confusion carries over into a number of the businesses that we work with. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You mentioned about recruiting, but I'd like to, just back that up a little bit and say, let's get some of that role clarity in place first.
So, Tim, I think what you're saying is, before you try to make a hire or find the perfect candidate, figure out what it is you need somebody to do. Break it down to the basics of, what are the tasks that this person needs to complete to be successful and help the company perform and achieve the goals. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And, oftentimes the second piece of the puzzle that we tend to get confused on is that we often believe that we have to bring someone in that knows everything about landscape. And while that's very important because that is our passion, that is our trade, what we often overlook is the importance of what the role skills are that are needed to complete that task. Specifically, if we were to look at someone in sales, and I often share this example is, if we were to take our vehicle in for service, we wouldn't have the sales professional at the auto dealership servicing our vehicle. In fact, a lot of us, might even chuckle about that. We wouldn't, they wouldn't have the skill set to service our vehicle. However, oftentimes in our business, we hand those sales responsibilities off to a potential team member that doesn't have that sales skill set. So, when we shift gears over to the recruiting side of things, when we have that role clarity, we're really able to go out and specifically and intentionally find those that have the right skill set, and again, specific to, what it is that makes a sales professional a true sales professional.
So you're saying, if somebody can sell cars or they can sell refrigerators, maybe they can also sell landscaping. It's more so the essential skill set or the basic skill set of the job that's critical, not necessarily the technical background, because maybe that can be learned as you grow or progress. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we often say is we'd rather have someone that knows 100% about the sales process rather than knowing 100% of what the ins and outs of that particular trade may or may not be in the organization. So what I mean by that as well is what is sales? Well, sales is really surfacing, the needs or the wants of the prospect that we're talking with. And, one of the greatest examples that we can look at or reflect back on oftentimes is, as we start our businesses, we often run in there and we believe that the prospect that we're visiting with or interacting with is simply wanting a fire pit or possibly an outdoor patio space just because they think it's great, or they might have seen a beautiful picture of one in a magazine. Since we don't often have those sales skill set, and a true sales professional would come in and start to surface what is it really that candidate or that prospect is looking for. And what we find is that sales professional is able to surface much more of the wants of that and a true understanding, where that backyard experience might really be all about a family creating memories that last a lifetime versus simply just installing some things in the backyard. So yes, again, circling back to that is role clarity. Again, if we look at the estimator's role as well, do they have the knowledge on production rates and the understanding of job costing and those pieces of the puzzle first and foremost? And then, as you mentioned, they can be trained as to what it takes to install the elements in the landscape. So again, looking for those core skills, because the other advantage to that is, quite candidly, it opens up our pool of candidates for recruiting, because again, as you mentioned, Aaron, our industry is really going through some changes and experiencing some limitations as to available candidates. And when we really look at the skill set first and foremost, it opens it up to many other industries. You know, you heard me mention automotive. I think you may have mentioned some other industries as well too. But the answer is we're looking for the core skills first and foremost, those estimating skills, those sales skills, those customer relationship skills. You know, we may have someone that can, you know, manage a group of guests at a hospitality event very well, and come to find out that they're also able to manage our customers that we serve in the green industry very well as well. So again, teaching those skills that are specific to landscape.
So Tim, it sounds like, you know, we're really, maybe sometimes we as green industry pros, we tend to overthink, or we think that, you know, we have such a specialized or a niche market that, you know, unless somebody is a true landscaper, they know everything about plants or hardscapes or equipment, that they really can't thrive in this industry. And what you're saying is that's simply not true. We have to look at ultimately what are the main priority tasks that we need this person to accomplish. If it's customer service, if it's sales, and that then opens up a wider range of candidates, but expands the candidate pool for us.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's been a lot of fun working with our clients through that recruiting process. And, you know, at first there's some discomfort whenever we say, hey, consider your last place where you rented a car and consider that as a possible sales professional for your landscape business. And oftentimes there's a number of scratched heads or odd looks. But when they really take a step back and apply a recruiting process and start looking at those skill sets, what we find is there's a number of industries that have these skills very well very well structured. In fact, there's more focus on educating on those skills in other industries than it is about the industry itself. So yeah, I do. I challenge our industry to take that step back and go explore some of these other industries. You know, reach out through your networking and those kind of things. And you know, if you have someone in your networking group that does automotive sales, ask them about their sales process. Ask them how they were trained. And what you'll very quickly find is it is very much driven by the core skill set first and foremost. And then the trade or the industry specific pieces can be brought along to really, you know, bring that experience on. And again, the benefit to us in the green industry is we've opened up a number of other candidates that is very exciting. I mean, again, pharmaceutical sales, all these types of different sales approaches all have very structured processes behind them. And we've seen some really great results for our clients whenever they do reach beyond just the boundaries that they may have imposed just on themselves. And it's fun to stretch beyond that. It's fun to see what happens out there whenever you take that step. Okay,
great. Are there any specific other sales industries that Tim, that you've seen really good training processes in place? So maybe, you know, theoretically, if the landscape pro is looking to hire a person, say a candidate came from a particular industry, you would know that they've gone through extensive sales training, or they would have a really good background. Are there any other industries that produce top candidates that maybe have done some of the legwork for us, some of the training, some of the preparation, so that we're not getting a completely green candidate walking into our landscape business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun, and you know, not to call out a specific vendor, but I know Enterprise Rental Car is really driven by their numbers. Again, if you just take a minute and visit your local Enterprise, you know, rental car location, and just sit back in the background as customers are coming in and observe what's happening there. Or if you feel bold enough, tap the manager on the shoulder and say, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time? And ask them about their training and different pieces there. But Enterprise does a phenomenal job with, you know, ensuring that the number of cars that are rented, the duration of the cars, the upsell of the opportunity for the insurance and all the other ancillary elements that come with it, that we often sometimes get into our own rush and we overlook these opportunities. And each of these are business opportunities that improves the gross profit margin performance of our business, and then also provides the financial resources so that we can, you know, train our team members as well too, and really, you know, continue to nourish them on the skill side of things.
Okay, fantastic. So Tim, if you could give business owners and managers one piece of advice when it comes to searching for a candidate, what would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked a lot about the why and some of the different pieces there, but, you know, we often want to walk away from an opportunity like this with, you know, so what can I do in my business? And that's what I'd like to focus on here. And really what you'll find with any initiative is it starts with a plan. We just recently completed a number of days on the road heading out west for the proverbial family trip. And if we would have pulled out of our driveway without a plan on where we're heading, what are the resources that we need to make that trip successful as a family, it's hard to tell who would have had the most influence on the steering wheel whenever we were deciding what direction to go. So everything, whether it be our family travel, whether it be our businesses, we got to start out with a plan. And that's really the biggest piece here with the recruiting when I leave the what should you do in your organization. So start with that plan first and foremost. Identify the roles in the organization, as we've talked about, the role clarity. Put specific names beside each of those responsibilities, each of those roles within your organization, and that'll start to show you where the gaps are. Or oftentimes what it does, it shows a lot where the overlaps are. Oh, you're doing this? Well, I didn't realize you were doing that. So, we're both doing the same task here. Let's clarify this. Let's get some unity on this so that we can move forward. So starting out with that plan first and foremost of what it is that you need. And then reach out to outside counsel. Take a minute to discuss that not only in your own mind, but share with your peers in the industry. I mean, LCA brings such a great opportunity to get together with your professional peers that do want to improve business and keep the pieces going in a successful way. And you've got this great resource. A lot of times members just don't take advantage of that. So I would encourage that as well too. We don't need to go out and reinvent the wheel every time. Recognize the roles in your organization are going to be the same roles in the next organization. And how do you define those? How do you put words to those? How do you identify that? And then I would say moving beyond the role clarity, now we really got to put a recruiting plan in place. What are the resources? What volume of revenue are we generating in our business? How many positions does that warrant? Recognize that each role does not warrant one individual to fulfill that. In an organization that's larger, you may have multiple people filling the same role, or in a smaller organization, you may have one person that fulfills multiple roles. So start to identify what that looks like. Start to identify the resources financially that you have. What are the benefits that you'll be able to extend to a candidate? And then really the last of the three key pieces here in what to do in your business is identify a good recruiting process. As I always say, right energy at the right time. Recruiting is not a, let's post an ad and see who shows up process. It's really a outbound hunting and identifying. Again, you heard me mention, go to your local enterprise or go to your local auto dealership and just take a minute and even put yourself through the sales process and see which one of those particular team members takes you through a sales process and has confidence taking you through that process. But, that all becomes part of the recruiting side of it. And recruiting is really a full-time activity. So the last piece of advice I would leave is, make sure that you identify someone within your organization that can really do this day in and day out, have a plan where there is continuous recruiting. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers, it takes 10 applicants to get to one finalist for a position. And what we want to do is we typically want to have 3 finalists coming to that finish line so that, when the first candidate, the perfect candidate that you feel is perfect, when they decline the offer, you have a second. And when that second one maybe is a fit, maybe is not a perfect fit, that you have your third candidate. And with confidence that you truly have bubbled the best candidate for the role up to that position. You have confidence that they will be successful as best as possible in your organization. And inversely, what we often see by applying a recruiting process is that candidate comes to the table with excitement as well. When they get to the point where the offer is extended, they're confident, they're excited that they're investing their time, their energy in employment with your organization as well, and really having a good opportunity that way.
So Tim, I think what you're saying is really take this hiring and recruiting process as seriously as you would any other aspect of your business. It's not just simply, throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks, using that metaphor of, let's put an ad out there and see who applies, but it's really treat this as you would any other professional aspect, whether it's your horticulture, your turf care, your installation, your maintenance programs. Recruiting and hiring the right person is just as essential as picking the right plant or installing the right stone or in anything like that, and that green industry pros are used to hearing about.
Absolutely. Again, we see a lot of energy put into the planning of a job, but oftentimes that energy is lost or that focus is lost when it comes to developing and driving our business. And really that leads to quality of life for owners. You know, we see a number of owners that are frustrated and challenged, but when we look at the amount of effort that's being put into building the business systems, processes, and parts, oftentimes that's overlooked or just passed through as that. You know, and again, as you mentioned, you know, when we post an ad out there, we have to recognize that those that are applying in a reactive approach are ones that, you know, may or may not be the best. So, you know, I'm always that one that says, if you want something, you got to identify it first, then you got to go out and hunt it down and bring it back and have success that way.
Absolutely. Just, you know, just as we would in trying to find a new client for our business, if we see a property and we know that we want the maintenance contract on that property, we're going to hunt down the owner. We're going to take them out to lunch. We're going to do what we can to try to get that maintenance contract. We're going to do the same thing with a potential candidate. If we see somebody that would be a great employee, we're going to do what we need to do to get them on board and make them a part of our organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic. So Tim, any other pieces of advice that you would say really jump out to you as being critical in thinking outside the box for recruiting and hiring? We've talked about, you know, thinking beyond the landscape skill set, breaking things down into really what are the core responsibilities of the job. And it sounds like a lot of this may come back to the person who is doing the hiring or searching for the candidate, figuring out what are the essential skills that they need filled. What are their pressure points? What do they need somebody to help alleviate in their business? And maybe they don't need a clone of themselves, but maybe they just need somebody who can fill a particular role, and they can hire for that role rather than trying to find this all-encompassing employee who can do everything just like the business owner did when they started out.
Yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. It is, as our businesses grow, it's identifying those unique skills and skill sets that allows that team to continue to grow and develop and have the accountability amongst the team members, knowing that, you know, whenever the activity is completed, it's completed with confidence, without question, because as you well know, in growing your business, there's so much energy that's consumed oftentimes in looking at all of the exceptions rather than just focusing on the path where we're heading. So this is a great opportunity to take that under advisement and really make sure that this becomes a day in, day out activity, and that is recruiting. And that would be the other piece I would add to that as well too, is, you know, continuously recruiting, continuously having your awareness and having a resource within your organization dedicated to that, and not just simply waiting until, gee, we have an opening, let's figure out what to do now. So again, those are really key pieces.
Okay. And Tim, maybe on a slightly different note, what do you say to clients or to landscape professionals when they say, oh, well, we always try to hire from within or promote from within, trying to find somebody in their existing organization who can fill a role? Is that always the best move, or do sometimes we get better results by looking outside the box rather than taking, you know, our top crew leader who's really good with the customers and trying to force him into a sales role? Is that necessarily the best thing, or would you say that the first choice of a business owner should be to look outside the company?
Yeah, you know, I think you bring up a great point there. And again, we want to honor those that have continued to serve with us. But oftentimes what happens is the owner tends to make that decision that says, you know what, I think Joe over there, he's an awesome sales professional, and I think he would be a great sales manager. So oftentimes we go over and we tap them on the shoulder, and just based on the fact that we are the owner in the organization, that individual may respond in a manner that is, yeah, sure, I'll take that responsibility. If you think I would be good at it, I'll do it. And the reality is, you know, we've not taken that step back and evaluated, are they truly a good fit? And oftentimes what we see is 6-9 months into that role, they're really not built for that role. And while they took on those responsibilities thinking they could overcome it, what happens a lot of times is there's frustration. And then quite candidly, oftentimes organizations lose some great team members that have been with them for a number of years in just making that mistake. So our recommendation is put them in. You know, if they want to throw their name in the hat and be part of that recruiting process, they are analyzed, they are evaluated just as any other candidate that may be, you know, brought from the outside in as well too. And then you truly know when you get to the finish line and you're ready to extend that offer, if they are one of the finalists, they should be very confident and happy and knowing that they are a finalist through an evaluation process and not simply just because they were tapped on the shoulder. And I think that brings a good piece to the puzzle. It raises their confidence. It also raises the confidence of the organization and really sets it in a strong professional manner and a strong professional light, celebrating the skills of those team members. So I'm definitely open to looking internally, but they should be a candidate, not the candidate. And I think there's a big difference with those two phrases.
Understood. That makes a lot of sense. So, Tim, I think this morning our listeners have gotten some really great information when it comes to recruiting and hiring and applying a little different mindset to the whole process. Would you mind letting our listeners know where they can find more information about you, about Ignite Business Advisors, and maybe some of the other things that you could help landscape industry pros with in their businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the parting messages that I would really encourage is, again, this isn't a solo sport. Oftentimes as business owners, we can isolate ourselves. All of the ideas that we bring to the table, that we share with that person in the mirror in the morning, become perfect. And that's the piece that I would guard against. So, my recommendation is seeking that outside counsel, whether it be their peers in the LCA, whether it be advisors such as our organization, which, we really enjoy, the opportunity to share past experiences and really accelerate, their business performance. So I would just encourage, first and foremost, to, give us a call. We can be reached at 412-566-4048 and just have that initial conversation. That's really the key piece of this, because each of our businesses are very unique, and we're able to take that time, have that dialogue, and understand if there is a fit, if there is value for each of our organizations. For some businesses, we're able to really accelerate them. For others, we're not so much of a fit, and that's okay. And that's really the key piece that I would leave there. Folks can also visit our website at ignite.works, WORKS, and they can schedule an online consultation or a video conference. Again, we serve all the areas here across the U.S., so we definitely enjoy having those opportunities just to have that initial conversation and not do it in isolation, but rather do it together and really accelerate the performance of their business.
Beautiful. And Tim, you make a great point there about the opportunities within LCA. All of our LCA members and other green industry pros in the Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia area, be aware that you have this fantastic networking and peer group opportunity at your fingertips within the Landscape Contractors Association, because generally, if you're experiencing a problem in your business, you're not the only one. Somebody else is in the same boat. There are a lot of landscape companies, landscape contractors, landscape pros in our area, and we've all experienced similar issues. And Tim, you remind us that, look externally, seek outside counsel, talk to somebody else, because that voice in the mirror that you talk to every day, it's only one opinion, and sometimes you need a few different opinions before you can make a big decision. So reach out to your peers, get with LCA, network, talk to other business owners and business pros, and see where that can take you.
I would totally agree, and it's a great resource that you have there, being involved with you guys over the years past, and again, take advantage of that. It's right at your fingertips. So Aaron, thanks again for today. I really enjoyed spending some time talking with you about this topic.
Yeah. Tim, thank you. I appreciate your time with us as well, and I appreciate all the insight you've given. Again, this is just a little bit of information that Tim has shared. He has a huge range of information that Tim can provide to help your businesses, help you grow, help you overcome challenges that you may feel stuck on. So again, thank you for listening. I'm Aaron Raines, LCA President, and I look forward to having you join us again on the next LCA Webcast. Goodbye.